And we will begin now with a panel discussion which is themed Enabling Gen AI for Bharat, Industry Academia Synergy to Build Open, Scalable and Responsible AI Ecosystems. And this session is going to explore how collaborative efforts between industry leaders and academic institutions can lay the foundation for sovereign, scalable AI systems rooted in openness, ethics, and indigenous innovation. So I'm going to invite on stage now, first of all, our panelists, Mr. Sandip Patel, Managing Director of IBM India. Let's welcome him with a round of applause. Warm welcome to you, sir. May I now invite Mr. Sharad Sanghi, CEO of Neysa Networks. Let's welcome him, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, sir. And may I invite Mr. Pankaj Gupta, Public Sector Leader of AWS India and South Asia. Let's welcome him. And I also invite our moderator, Mr. Ankit Bose, Head of NASSCOM AI. Let's extend a round of applause and welcome our moderator. And may I now invite Mr. Pankaj Singh, the Project Director, BharatGen, to kindly join us on stage and help us felicitate the entire panel. And can we have the felicitations coming on stage, please? Let's start with Mr. Sandip Patel, Managing Director, IBM India. And I request you, Mr. Pankaj Singh, the Project Director, BharatGen, to please felicitate his presence in our midst. And can we hear it once again, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you so much for the applause. May we now thank and welcome Mr. Sharad Sanghi, CEO of Neysa Networks. Very warm welcome again, sir. And thank you so much for your presence. And finally, Mr. Pankaj Gupta, Public Sector Leader of AWS India and South Asia, our final panelist. And then we'll go on to our moderator. And please thank and welcome our moderator, Mr. Ankit Bose, Head of NASSCOM AI. Let's welcome him, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Pankaj, for doing the honors. Thank you very much, sir, for doing the honors. And I'd like to request Mr. Ankit Bose to kindly take over the proceedings for this session.
Hi, everyone. I think welcome to this panel after your, I think good session in the morning and then, fulfilling lunch. I know sessions after lunch are a bit, more sleepy. But again, we'll try to keep you, sort of up and excited, right? Again, the topic is very exciting, right? How industry, academia can work together and really make, impact in the AI ecosystem. That's a topic what we have, right? The whole AI ecosystem, there are 5 pillars, right? Industry, academia, research, startup, and government, right? So the biggest pillar in this whole ecosystem is definitely industry and academia and research, right? Again, here we are about to discuss those two topics, how those two pillars, how they work together, and how that can make India's AI ecosystem number one, right? Globally, we have seen the economic value and technological value are, realized when these two pillars work together, right? And countries like US, China, UK, they spend around 2 to 3% of their GDP in R&D, right? So having said that, I think let me start my question to our panelists. We have a very esteemed panelist here, right? I think none need any introduction, but again, let me start my question first with Sharad. Sharad, you, right? As a very important pillar, enterprise, right? How do you think, what your, key, areas you work with academia to really partner? What is that you guys do special?
So we've been fortunate to work with the BharatGen team, which is why we're here. We work also with Indian Institute of Science. We're working with other IITs, IIIT, and many other institutions. And I think the trifecta of government-funded research and academic institutions along with industry is very important for this to succeed. I think a great example of this is the Fraunhofer Institute in Germany, where that model has really done well, where 30%, it's a non-profit company, but it's a 30% funded by government, 70% is contract research. In India also you have some very good examples. I think IIT Chennai, I see Professor Kamakoti here, IIT Chennai Research Park. I'm on the board of IIT Bombay Research Park, but I don't think we are quite there yet. IIT Chennai Research Park is a great example of how industry and academia. Otherwise, a lot of the technology that you see gets remained in papers that people publish and doesn't see light of day. But this is a great example, and I think we can replicate it, much like the model of the Fraunhofer Institute I was talking about, and maybe get all the research institutions to collaborate with, together and follow the model that they've set. I think that it could make a big difference. Our role with academic and research institutions is we work at the infrastructure layer. So we have researchers like Professor Ganesh and others who do a great job in building models, fine-tuning models, building models, doing inferencing. Our aim is to just provide the infrastructure and keep that complexity away from the researchers.
Thank you, Sharad. Let me go to Pankaj. Pankaj, can you take some examples from your perspective, what you guys are doing well?
No, first of all, good afternoon, everyone, and namaste. I know this is a little difficult after the lunch, but we'll try to be as concise and brief as possible. So talking about from AWS point of view, and just talking about, as you rightly said, there are three key pillars to the entire partnership. On one side, there is industry, there is academia, and then there is a third element, government. Like in the inauguration ceremony, we also see the way government is playing. And let me talk about, we all know government of India has built some of the world's largest population scale platforms, whether it is Aadhaar, UPI, GST, and DigiLocker. And the best part is, this is again, a lot of these platforms have happened because the industry, academia, government has come together. And we take really pride, and I remember Professor Kamakoti is here in the room, during building Arogya Setu, how we spend hours and days and nights in terms to make sure that platform. And today, if you see, Arogya Setu broke the world's record of Pokemon Go to have 50 million subscribers in just 15 days. So that is the kind of impact, and we all know what it did for the country in terms of saving lives. So from our point of view, I think the collaboration goes beyond just working, in terms of building products, but the real thing is the impact story, whether it is Arogya Setu. Similarly now, if you see all the other platforms, and I think Covin is another example where industry and AWS work together and saving lives. I'm not sure if you know that it was the first world's fastest ever growing tech platform that had 300 million users within 4 months, or 400 million users in 5 months. And now taking the other thing that where academia plays a very, very important role is in terms of connecting education to skilling, to employment, and to entrepreneurship. So AWS has skilled more than 5.9 million people in India since 2017, because we all know the biggest impediment that could be there in terms of adoption of AI in the world and in our country could be the availability of trained AI-skilled manpower. So 5.9 million people in terms of cloud skills, but talking about AI skills, we have a mandate to train more than 2 million people in the world by 2025, and I think by December 2024, we've already kind of attained that goal. The second thing that I wanted to talk about the work that we are doing with some of the nodal agencies. Like there is a ITNT, it is the Nodal Innovation Hub of Government of Tamil Nadu. That is where we worked with them to set up like a GenAI startup hub and a center of excellence, where in terms of a lot of these students, how do you really inculcate the spirit of entrepreneurship? As and when the products that they are building, we're able to scale them globally. So as part of our GenAI startup hub, we provided them resources, whether it is cloud credits, industry expertise, mentorship, and the most important thing is connecting them with the industry connects, whether it is government and enterprises. And the last but not the least, once these products are built, how do you make sure these products are able to scale globally? So we have a concept of marketplace where we worked with them to list these products on our marketplace, and now they can go sell with 140,000 partners that we have across the world, across 200 countries, and even with our own sales force.
Great, thank you, Pankaj, thank you. Let me come to Sandip. Sandip, can you share your nuggets? I think IBM research and IBM academic partnership is amazing, right?
Yeah, so look, we've always lived with the value, and it's part of one of our values that innovation that matters for our company and for the world. And so I think we live that through the investments that we continue to make in research and development, which is done through IBM Research, which obviously has partnerships with a lot of the academic institutions, both in India and around the world. But let me put the technologies in context. I mean, I truly believe that, we all talk about Viksit Bharat, getting to Viksit Bharat by 2047. I think to do that right, there is a 3x3 model that we need to think about. So 3 technologies and 3 ways of executing it. So the 3 technologies that I always talk about is AI, semiconductors that are actually going to fuel how AI works. And then as we move towards the next evolution of computing, it's quantum computing. So these are three technologies that we actually very, very deeply focus from our research teams, and this is what we do with a lot of, Professor Kamakoti is not here right now, but IIT Madras has been one of the forerunners in terms of the algorithms and others that we are doing in quantum computing and a whole bunch of others. But then the other three, in terms of how we make it work, one is the collaboration between academia, government, and industry. I think that is truly, required. It's very important. Second is what folks have talked about in terms of skilling, because we need to drive skilling top down, and more importantly, in the new skills that are important. But the third thing, which I believe is really, really important for these technologies to scale in a practical way, is building of an ecosystem, a robust ecosystem that actually drives and creates the multiplier effect for these technologies to grow. One of the things that we've actually we're living today, we keep talking about semiconductors and others. We are already at 2 nanometers. I think there's research going on right now in 1 nanometer technology in our labs in Albany. But that is a unique model that we've been able to create, where with a partnership with the state government of New York, we have brought together a whole slew of ecosystem partners that have come together to drive that R&D. So doing R&D on your own will take you so far. But I think given the world that we live in, where collaboration is a way of life, building that ecosystem partnership and doing that in an open, collaborative manner, I think really drives the multiples that we need to take innovation to the next level.
Great, I think great insights. Infra, research, R&D, what Pankaj said was skilling, startup, innovation. I think creating that whole ecosystem is very important. That's what probably my insight is from the first thing. Sandip, let me start with you, the next question, right? Again, we all, know industry and academia, they work, and they work on certain, areas. Mostly it is said and said, at least in Indian ecosystem, that, industry partner with academia, but again, I think it is mostly for their benefit, right? Benefit probably like hiring, like social eminence, all of that. But again, I think that's but one partial view. But in your view, right, what could be the incentives, what could be the metrics between industry and academia when they partner, right? And how can that grow at large, right, the whole mission?
So when we look at innovation and partnerships with academia or even with the government, right, it isn't about immediate outcomes or immediate commercialization. As a matter of fact, I think we started work with, I think it was IIT Mumbai about 27 years ago when we first established IBM Research in India. And many of our technologies and innovation that we've been doing, those have been happening over a long period of time. So this notion that you partner with academia for immediate results, I think that's a fallacy. At least that's not part of our corporate fabric. As a matter of fact, we've always maintained, I just started with that our value is innovation that matters for our company and more importantly for the world. So I think in the example that I gave you, where we've actually brought together universities, government, a large set of ecosystem partners, some of which maybe even be our competitors in other parts, but bringing them together to really drive technology innovation that will actually change the world. When you think about 2 nanometer technology chips, which are now a reality, there's, I think, 1 and sub 1 nanometer research that's going on right now. A lot of the work that I think is happening even in India in some of the IITs and others, it's all about doing research and driving innovation for the long haul. And I think that's the way we have to look at it.
Thank you. So I think long haul is something what your advocacy will be for this thing, right? Let me go to Pankaj. this projects or the the partnership which happen within academia and industry, how can they drive projects which are of social nature, right? Social impact projects for agriculture, for healthcare, for education. How can that basically be a social innovation which can be scaled, right? So, what do you think can be done, or what do you guys do on that?
Sure. No, I think as I spoke about earlier, that India has taken a very unique approach to building some of the world's largest these population scale platforms, and they call them DPIs or digital public infrastructure. Rather, I remember last year, as part of India's G20 presidency, India was given an award in terms of being a champion of the DPIs. So if you see, AI and cloud is really enabling this, taking it a very, very different, and what it is really doing is democratizing the entire access of technology, making these platforms inclusive, equitable, accessible, and more important, affordable. Let me take an example of a particular platform that we are fortunate to work with the government of India, is Government e-Marketplace. I'm not sure how many of us in the room know that GEM today is the world's second largest B2B marketplace, which has more than 2.1 million sellers and 270,000 buyers. While numbers are great, but the more important thing is 70% of these sellers come from tier 2, tier 3 cities or even rural villages. Today now, because of this democratization of technology, these small-time traders and entrepreneurs are now able to participate in the public procurement, which till now they were not able to do so. Because of that, the impact, if you see, it has created. Again, talking about startups. Startups are the route to innovation as far as these new age solutions are concerned. Talking about GEM, 30,000 startups have been able to do business worth 35,000 crores as far as GEM is concerned. And not just in terms of business. The other thing is, these startups and small-time traders also need help in terms of financing. So what GEM has done, they've integrated their platform with something called a GEM Sahai. Because of that, now anybody can access things like collateral-free financing up to 10 lakh rupees of loans. That is one example. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is the way AI is able to take scale and speed to the next level. We were just now, if you have to catch a flight, Mr. Chris, the DigiYatra is a platform that can come handy. If you see DigiYatra, what it has done is, it is really doing, biometric-based processing of passengers at the airports using something called a self-sovereign identity. It is like a walk in the park experience, and it is using AI at the back end, where our face is being used like a boarding pass. Now, the entire processing time and the waiting time has come from maybe 15 minutes to just a couple of minutes. So that's the kind of impact that we are talking about that technology has created at the grassroots level.
Thank you, Pankaj. Sharad, let me come to you, right? Again, India definitely has a big talent pool, right? We have a potential to become the powerhouse of talent for AI in the globe, right? In your perspective, how industry can catalyze that along with academia, right? What do you think we can do?
Yeah, I think there is there's no doubt there's a lot of talent, not only at the IITs and all, but even in tier 2, tier 3 colleges, see some amazing talent come from there. But, one of our disappointments has also been that a lot of the talent is on paper, but when you actually interview the talent, when you're trying to hire for industry, you need to really, you find that, it's very, very superficial and there's no depth. So I think a lot of work needs to be done in terms of, from an academic perspective, I think the IITs are obviously doing a great job because some of the talent we've hired is from there and they're excellent. But a lot of the other colleges, I think we need to give them access to infrastructure. So for example, let's take AI talent, right? They don't have access to, a lot of the tier 2, tier 3 government colleges don't have access to GPUs. So one of the things we are looking to do is see how we can do it. And I think the AI mission is doing a great job there. So AI missions, entire mission is to make GPU compute available to researchers as well as startups, as well as, I'm sure they'll extend it to academics as well. And, so then once people get trained on actual real world, real infrastructure, not just go by book, right, where they read stuff, but they don't know what is practical, right? I think the talent pool will improve. And our aim is to democratize AI by providing compute, and we are one of the partners in the AI mission project.
Thank you, Sharad. Sandip, let me come to you. with the final question I have, right? Again, this is for all three of you. And then we can open up some questions for the audience. There's a lot of research which is happening, a lot of papers getting published, a lot of IP which is potentially getting generated, right? Again, from generation of papers to IP to commercialization, that's a big path, right? What in your thoughts, right? How could industry academia really partner to really take that novel work to IP to commercialization, right?
So I just go back to, I think for any technology to be viable and to scale, I think we are at a point now where we are beyond the hype on AI. I think we should stop talking about it and just getting into scaling it. And that is important. So I think there are three factors which are important to keep in mind. One, I think AI needs to be open by nature, hybrid by design. And at least the way we've designed our platforms, we have tried to keep it very open-ended. I think we get too obsessed about creating proprietary models and others. Models are going to get democratized over a period of time. They're actually going to get smaller. They are going to get more cheaper. They're going to get more effective to use. And so we should not worry about that, but focus on how do you use hybrid architectures to really take advantage of AI by building applications that are practical, that are responsible, and that are embeddable. I always talk about the concept for AI, where as long as it's practical and you're using it for practical uses. And there are a lot of practical uses. I think we get caught up in esoteric, trying to solve world hunger, where there is a lot of low-hanging fruit that you can actually benefit from. We ourselves just reported that over the last year and a half or so, we've used our own AI platform to take $3.5 billion from the bottom line. And this is by totally low-hanging fruit, things like procurement, things like HR, things like simple tasks that could actually be automated in a fundamental way. So I think that we need to be thinking about that, and we should be encouraging other service providers to think about how you can embed AI to make things a lot more efficient than others. And then the third part there is we've got to make it responsible. AI governance is really important. Data provenance, where data has come from, explainability of the models, them being free from bias, that is really important. So I think if we keep this in mind, open and hybrid by design, keep it practical, responsible, embeddable, and make sure that we have the right governance around how we do it, and then just scale with simple things that can actually deliver real results. I think that's what's needed.
Great. Good model, I think, which came from you. So, Sharad, you want to add anything to, from your perspective?
Yeah.
IP to commercialization, right?
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with what Sandip just said. I think I'll just add, in addition to bias, when it comes to ethics, in addition to bias and explainability and data provenance, also add security and privacy. So I'd also like to add that. And I think, again, follow examples that have worked, right? So the global examples are like as I mentioned earlier, Fraunhofer Institute. Indian examples are examples like IIT Chennai and other IITs also now. Even IIT Bombay is now doing a good job. So follow those examples in terms of taking stuff right, not just publishing papers, but actually translating them to. And BharatGen is a great example, right? So this is research that is now made available through AI Kosh, and people will already have started using. I think they've just signed, Professor Ganesh has just signed a MOU with IGNOU, IGNOU, so this is, and it's going to be used for skilling there. So there's a great example of taking something that is, and obviously there has to be a collaboration between industry and academia, and so I think research park model is something that should be made, proliferate across the country.
Thank you, Sharad. Pankaj?
Yeah, so I think from my point of view, I want to talk about two key imperatives, which is important. One is data, and second is security. So talking about data, in our experience working with the government and a lot of stakeholders, what we've seen is getting the data foundation right is very, very important. Depending upon how do you integrate data from different sources and one common platform so that you're able to make sense of that. Second is data security, privacy has to go a long way. I want to talk about this using one particular example of National Health Authority. We all know NHA today has a mandate to make healthcare affordable and accessible for India. They are looking at providing free health insurance to 550 million poor and vulnerable Indians in India. And for that, we worked with them to taking the data on the cloud. But more important thing is talking about the impact of this platform. It has done 70 million hospitalization worth $11.2 billion and 30,000 public and private hospitals. If you see, this is a behemoth enterprise application where a lot of stakeholders are coming together and dealing with so many kind of investments. The important thing is now making sense from the data stored in different locations. We worked with them to build a central data lake, and on that data lake, they were able to run a fraud analytics solution. We all know, looking at the kind of volume that they're dealing with, fraud claims and fraud integrity becomes very, very important. So now as part of that, they are not just able to identify the fake claims, but also let the decision makers and the policy makers take action in real time. This is one example. Second thing is now again democratizing a technology for rural access. We all know real India lives in rural villages. Again, I want to talk about one particular partner called Cure.ai. What they have done is, how do you make sure that when we look at villages, there is a big shortage of radiologists. Now from the time when a villager is able to get maybe an X-ray scan done, to the time where a doctor is able to read or interpret that X-ray scan, it takes really weeks, and maybe a lot of time these X-rays are not even read. Now with this AI-based algorithm, they are able to read and interpret these X-ray or CT scans within minutes. Now with that, what we're helping is we are saving lives. And now the person is able to take, say, the next line of kind of test, which is a sputum test in this case. So what is really important is I'm talking about, again, the impact of AI, speaking about speed and scale. Now AI does not have any boundaries or borders. It can be taken to any level. And what you have to really do is increase the system that the backend processing has to be increased. So that is the kind of speed and scale we are talking about.
Great insight from all of you. Let me open up, for the audience. Any questions from the audience? We can take a couple of questions. Yeah.
I'm an academician. I'm from IIT Madras. So I just wanted to follow up what Mr. Sharad pointed out. At a very fundamental level, there's a big skill set deficiency, I feel, in Bharat, basically. And to build anything at scale that we want to follow in the West or China, I think we have to build the skill set. And I think that is very, very important. I'm not sure what is the answer for that. As an academician, we would like to do that. But I think the core technologies, to build from scratch, the population is very, very small. And the other thing that I think we should learn from China is the industry has been very, very proactive, right? You have hundreds of companies, like whether it's Baidu or Tencent or Alibaba. So hundreds of guys who are working in AI, and that probably has also percolated to having a core strength being built for the population. So I'm not sure what the answer is, but I would like to know if you have any thoughts on it.
I think I totally agree on the talent piece. There is a lack of talent. I think if maybe some of these, one idea that we are promoting within some of us as a consortium is if we can make AI education available very, very affordably by setting up some large GPU clusters. And obviously you still need the teachers, you need the people to teach, but if we can collaborate with, this could be a good example of industry and academia collaboration where you can get talent from the IITs or some of the top institutes and then make available the compute infrastructure so that people can run their Jupyter notebooks online and make it really big. In terms of, what is the second part? You said one was on education and the second part was? Yeah. So industry actually, honestly, I've been disappointed with the industry in India. When it comes to AI, a lot of startups are struggling when industry just wants free POCs all the time. A lot of the companies are asking startups to do free POCs and not actually converting it. So again, there's some initiatives that we are taking to see how that can change. We have, as part of SAS Bhumi, there's an AI council where we are getting actually CIOs and CTOs of companies to judge AI startups and telling them upfront that, when they have a competition where they will judge, and then as part of the award, they will actually deploy those in their organization. But in general, we're not seeing as a proactive role that industry is playing for startups, right? For some of the mature technologies, yes, industry is adopting, right? Every single company that we go to is already using either OpenAI or Gemini or one of them. And so it's not easy to get them to start using. There are changes now. For example, a lot of when they want to do loan collection, they have to use something trained on Indian languages. So I think the efforts from BharatGen and others will probably succeed. But a lot of work needs to be done. It's not as we're nowhere close to US and China there. But maybe Sandip, you may have.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that individually a lot of corporates or industry is doing, but I think it's very localized and it's very siloed. I think there is a case to be made where if industries, and I always call on my tech colleagues, my tech industry cohorts, to say that if we can bring together a more of a coordinated skilling set of initiatives, I think each of us do a lot. I mean, we've made a global statement that we're going to be skilling about 2 million people in AI over the next few years. So there is a lot we're doing. We're doing a lot at CBSE level and so on and so forth. There's a lot of free training that we offer. But I think if there is something that we can coordinate across industries to say, how do we make practical training available where we aren't overlapping over each other, number one, but more importantly, doing it in a way that actually then translates into jobs and work that people can get into. Because at the end of the day, skilling is good if it is put to practical use. And I think that whole pipeline, I think, needs to happen. And I do agree that today industry is not coordinating in the effort. There's a lot of money that's being spent on skilling and training. There's a lot that's happening to train educators as well, even using AI. I know we use AI to train teachers, actually, to get them educated. But I don't think that's happening coordinated across the industry, and there's a case to be made for that.
Just to add, so I +1 to what Sandip said. So beyond free training courses, like we also have a program called Skill Builder. Today, anybody with an internet connection and desire to learn can have access to those 500 plus free courses, in terms of learning about cloud and AI skills. But that is just one part of the equation. As Sandip said, really there is a need to have a coordinated approach collaborating industry and academia. And for that, last year AWS has launched something called India Tech Alliance, where right now in India we have already tied up with more than 50 higher education institutes on one side and employers on the other side. Because of that, now what is happening is, how do you prepare students as of our skilled workforce for the future workplace? Now, as part of that, now the higher education institutes are able to connect with the industry, understand what are the changes that needs to happen in their course curriculum and in terms of making students industry ready, so that from education to skilling to employment and then to entrepreneurship. But more important thing is, as again Sandip said, is the ability to provide them, hands-on learning. I think that is where we are again trying to provide them with all the resources from our side. And once they get skilled, the second thing is, as and when they are building new solutions, how do you take them to the world? So that is where connecting them with the marketplaces, connecting them with the global aspiration, and that is where the point of accelerators comes into play. So AWS has launched something called an AI startup accelerator, where right now, last year in India, we have chosen 7 key startups. Now we are trying to propel them to take their solutions to the world. So combination of these, I think, training programs, but startup accelerators can go a long way in building the end-to-end pipeline.
Yeah. Just to add, I think few numbers, right? 2023 start, 22 end. The total data and AI skill set in India was around 5 lakh people, right? At all. 25 start, we have done again assessment. We are around 8,50,000, right? So it's grown in 2.5 years phenomenally. and what was the crystallization, right? A lot of effort from the industry. Between, I think, at least top 6, 7 companies, they have spent at least few $1 billion in 2 years to upskill their, current, skill set, right? I think a lot of effort is happening on that, right? So I'll give all to the industry to take the skill set is in data and AI to next level, right? But the second question, what you had, right? Again, a lot of innovation which happens, or frontier tech innovation happens in US. It's DARPA, university, and industry mix, right? They have their own thing. Again, China is state-driven, then industry, sort of enabled. India, till now, I think we are still trying to find our model, right? I think we have not been able to generate companies like, Baidu or Google or Meta, right? I think that's what. So probably I think the current wave where we are at, right, where DST, where India Mission are catalyzing projects like BharatGen, right? I think this could be the right model, right? Government supported, academic institute led, and industry supported as well, right? I think we could find some of our, Metas, Googles in this wave. I think we have to find our right model. Probably we are very near. That's what probably is my point. Yeah. Any other questions?
Hello. Hi. So I'm Omkar. I'm co-founder of Binomial. It's a startup based out of India. Again, first, thanks to Pankaj Gupta and AWS. We got $100,000 ka credit. So, thank you for the free compute. But my question is about enterprise adoptability of GenAI solutions. So while we are saying that there are 300 million users of ChatGPT, because we are all individually using it to refine our emails and whatnot, what kind of, enterprises usage and enterprises adoption is still foggy. What kind of trends are you guys seeing into the enterprises adoption? Because hallucination, repeatability, these are the problems that industry has. What kind of trends are you seeing?
I can talk about India because we are based only in India. I think AWS and IBM can give you a global perspective. So we are seeing about, even if you see the reports by McKinsey and Gartner, 70% of enterprise workloads are still proof of concepts. They're not yet in production. But we are seeing some production use cases. For example, banking and finance, BFSI industry has been the most, they have a lot of data, and they are using AI in production, for example, for fraud detection. Give you one example, right? So it's impossible to do it otherwise, humanly impossible. And even if it's not fully accurate, at least it's better than not looking at the data and trying to look at fraud. We are seeing this in the insurance sector also. A lot of data. Persistency is a use case that we see in production. Companies like Canada, HSBC and all are using it. Of course, there's a lot of use cases that people are using, as Sandip just mentioned, like he's saved $3.5 billion. So this is not him selling to somebody else. This is him using it. So that's an enterprise use case where in procurement, in HR, and a lot of other places they are using it. And that we are seeing, and I'm not even going after things like Copilot and Cursor and all that stuff, which is pretty much unanimously across the board being used. We as a small company also use those kind of tools for productivity enhancement. But you are seeing now, I think this next 18 months, you will see a lot more production deployment. I think from a pilot perspective, I've not come across an enterprise that is not looking at AI. But in production, still a long way to go.
Yeah, so I think we did a adoption index recently, and what we found is whilst 95+% enterprises are dabbling in it, there's only about 40% that are actually, no, less than that, actually it's more like 28%, that 28% that are actually scaling it or doing something big with it. So I think enterprise use cases clearly are there. But I do believe that there are two other areas where there is a lot of potential for scaling. One is where there are startups or established service providers that are embedding AI into their solution. So last year we had we made this announcement at our thing where Quantum Street, working with an insurance company, they're doing to track actually investment models and others for AI. There's another one recently, Gavs India, they are actually using it for tracking, different automation models and others that they're driving. Recently with IIT Bombay and BharatGen, we've done something where we are actually mining legal cases to really go after the legal. So I think there are cases like that, which if they are practical use cases, those have the option and ability to scale, particularly if there is an end client that is available to help scale it. So the ones, the quantum street AI that I talked about, the GAVS one that's happening, these are companies that already have clients for which they are improving the solutions that they're delivering to end clients that are actually helping them grow their businesses faster. So I think those are the models we have to really look for, as well as I keep saying that there is, we get too fascinated with technology to think that we're going to need to use it to solve world hunger, right? But there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that you can use today to actually drive productivity improvements and automation that actually delivers results, as I just said.
From my point of view, first of all, congratulations on building on AWS. From our point of view, the two key trends that right now we are seeing, first of all, we all know GenAI, AI, right now is the most transformative technology of our generation, and we can't even think it will completely reinvent and reshape the customer experiences. So the two trends that we are really seeing as far as the initial stages is concerned, GenAI right now being used for business productivity enhancement solutions or maybe cost avoidance. And one example for that is a lot of customer care use cases. I spoke about NHA earlier, which is using for fraud analytics, where they're combining the AI capabilities with the decision making there, so from Gen AI to Gen BI. As far as customer care is concerned, there are a lot of examples. Government e-marketplace again has come up with it because India is a voice-first country, now trying the ability for India to talk in their native language and from static systems to dynamic context-aware systems. So that is the second thing. But the more important thing is we're also now seeing use cases like Coal India. Coal India is again today one of the India's world's largest coal producer. 80% of India's coal is done through Coal India. We worked with them to come up with a very interesting use case. They were looking at accelerating their entire procurement. Being a public sector entity, they have to deal with a lot of RFPs. But how do you make sure when you're trying to come up with a new RFP construct, what operating manuals, what guidelines, what do you lead? They were completely getting lost there, but now they have tried to come up with one central integrated platform. Now, if I have to build an RFP, within seconds and minutes, I'm able to get a first draft. Again, I would say these are still initial use cases. As the maturity level will go up, and now from building large language models to those small language models where we're talking about domain, industry, Digiyatra again is one common such use case. So I think we have to talk about more and more industry problems. Tackling real world problems is where AI will come into the future.
Yeah, a couple of data points again, right? So as NASSCOM, we also do a adoption, study of India, AI adoption study of India. So at a level of 0 to 4, India is 0.47, right? Again, the two top sectors who are adopting AI is TMT and manufacturing. They are ahead of BFSI, to our amazement, right? The top 4 use cases which will have 70 to 75% of the use cases which are getting POC'd or implemented is coding, testing, right? Customer use cases, right? Internal operational efficiency use cases like legal system, HR system. I think between all of that, your 70-75% use cases are getting utilized. So mostly, again, as Pankaj said, it's mostly at the customer level, or it is at a operational efficiency level, or new customer acquisition or customer handling level, right? Core business problems, there are very few companies who are working, like drug discovery. I know for a fact there are companies who have solved a 12-month molecule discovery into 2 weeks, right? And they are gaining from that. Very few of them. But again, I think that's that. Now the next phase is, what's happening is with GenAI and all of other, LLM ops coming, the next phase is on agentic, right? Again, a lot of agents are getting deployed, single system agents. Multi-agent has started, but again, still not realized, right? Again, protocols like A2A, MCP, all of that will get live. But again, I think that's a way ahead, right? With that, I can ask only one question from anyone, and
Can we just...
We can wrap up?
since
Yeah,
we're lagging behind,
I think
we
we
take
are,
them offline if that's
yeah, we are on time, and thank you everyone. So we can catch up offline. Yeah, thank you so much.
Let's have a
Thank you,
huge round
all
of
panelists.
applause for our eminent panelists. Thank you very much. Please give us a group photo opportunity. I request our panelists and our eminent moderator to kindly step ahead of the dais and give us a group photo opportunity. I thank Mr. Sandip Patel, Managing Director of IBM India, Mr. Sharad Sanghi, CEO of Neysa Networks, Mr. Pankaj Gupta, Public Sector Leader of AWS India and South Asia, and our moderator, Mr. Ankit Bose, Head of NASSCOM AI. Thank you very much once again. That was truly enlightening. Thank you.